We love to look back at historic golf clubs like the MP33, which was the first blade designed through CAD. Really, that replaced the Craftsman. It gave us a lot more knowledge of control of where the center of gravity is and how it's going to flow throughout the set from top to bottom. There's some similarities to the 33, but a lot has evolved since then. The similarities are going to be from the look at address. Everything looks classic, everything looks traditional. The scoring irons of these, however, have gotten a lot smaller, a lot skinnier, lower heels, a little bit straighter lines. However, the performance has continued to evolve. They've gotten easier to hit and more forgiving, even though that look is familiar. The first thing you're going to notice, I'm holding a 6-iron and a pitching wedge, is how the weight changes throughout these. The pitching wedge is a lot thicker in this upper portion of the blade compared to the 6-iron, and that really speaks to the evolution of the modern blade. They're not all just one-piece, simple, straightforward, planar designs. Now we're actually manipulating the weight to give you a more penetrating scoring iron and an easier to launch long iron. The reason a player needs that launch in the long irons is to come in steeper, to attack those pins more. And when you get to the scoring irons, the blade gives you so much control. Raising that center of gravity gives you a more penetrating ball flight that takes other elements out. It helps you control those in all conditions. Outside of Mizuno, there have been a lot of external changes that forces the clubs to evolve. Courses are getting longer, pins are tucked, greens are more severe. You know, you really have to make sure you have a lot of control over your golf ball from all conditions. On top of that, the ball doesn't spin like it used to. Not only do you need to launch your longer irons higher, but you need to impart a little bit more spin on the scoring irons. To do that, we raise the center of gravity. That gives you a penetrating ball flight that actually has more spin as well. There's a number of things you do to make a golf club feel good. Just by making a blade itself doesn't naturally mean it's going to feel right. You have to reinforce strategic areas. And if you look at a Mizuno, we've traditionally had a little bit thicker top lines than a lot of our competitors on the blade. However, everyone says ours feel better. There's a reason behind that. A little bit added mass high in the blade reinforces that area and gives you a different sound character than a thin top line. We want to give you that look of the thin top line, but the feel of a thick. And with the 221s, we have that mass, but we bevel it off so it looks thin at address. What you'll notice when you play the 221 is you have so much feel and control. That feel comes from the grain flow forging, that feel comes from the copper underlay. The control comes from really precisely controlled center of gravity locations and flow throughout the set. You're going to have very predictable ball flights and ones that you as a player are able to manipulate. We always lean really heavily on the best players in the world, and the tour gives us feedback that we couldn't even come up with. And with the 221s, there's no exception on that. We took their feedback, we made the scoring iron smaller, we made the sole camber slightly different, we made the soles thinner, all these things to give you more control and predictability. The initial feedback we've had from our early testing is just in terms of the ball flight. The ball flight's very neutral and it's a little bit flatter than blades we've had in the past, which gives the player a lot of control. It's interesting how the blade has evolved for the last number of years, where it used to be, if I'm a blade player, I play it top to bottom of my set, where that's not really the case anymore. Now we see this set of irons working into a lot of short irons, couple mid irons, and for those really elite ball strikers, it'll work its way into the long irons. We do offer this set in a 3-iron through pitching wedge, but again, that 3-iron, you better know what you're doing.